Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a freshman in college now, finally living in a dorm and away from home, which has been a massive relief. Trust me. For the past 3 years, I've been living with my mom and her husband, Richard. Not my stepdad, just Richard. That distinction matters to me. Richard came into our lives when I was 16. Mom was lonely after Dad died, and Richard seemed nice enough at first, bringing her flowers, taking us to dinner, the whole Prince Charming act. They got married after dating for only 8 months. I tried to be supportive for Mom's sake, but something about him always felt off. "He just wants what's best for us, Matt," Mom would say whenever I mentioned feeling uncomfortable around him. From day one, Richard was way too interested in my life. He'd ask a million questions about my friends, especially the girls. He'd hover around my door claiming he was just checking in multiple times a night. When I'd have friends over, he'd find excuses to hang around. "Don't you think it's weird how Richard is always lurking when we hang out?" My best friend Zach asked me once while we were playing video games. "Yeah, but Mom doesn't see it. She thinks he's just being involved or whatever." Things got worse when I started dating Emily last year. Richard would always be around when she came over, offering snacks or asking if we needed anything. Just excuses to come into my room. One Friday night, Emily and I were watching a movie on my laptop. We were just sitting on my bed, nothing crazy, when I caught Richard standing in the hallway, watching us through the crack in my door. Later that night, Emily texted me, "Hey, is it just me or was Richard being super creepy tonight? I swear he was staring at me the whole time." That was the last straw. I started locking my door, which led to a huge fight with Richard. "This is my house and there are no locked doors in my house," he shouted. "It's my room. I deserve privacy," I yelled back. Mom sided with him, of course. "Matthew, don't be dramatic. Richard is just concerned about you." Last weekend, I was cleaning my room before heading back to campus when I noticed something weird behind my bookshelf. I moved it and found a small black device with a tiny lens, about the size of a thumb drive, attached to the wall. I immediately called Zach, who's studying computer science. "Dude, I found something weird in my room. Can you come over?" When Zach arrived, he examined the device carefully. "Matt, this is a wireless camera component, high-end too. Someone's been watching you." My stomach dropped. "Are you sure?" Zach nodded grimly. 100%. And based on how it's positioned, it's been recording your entire room, your bed, your desk, everything. "Who would—" I started, but we both knew. "Richard." My skin crawled thinking about him watching me all this time. "We need to find out if there are more," Zach said, his face serious. "And we need to find out where the footage is going." Zach and I immediately started searching every inch of my room. We pulled furniture away from walls, checked behind picture frames, and inspected all the vents. "Dude, check this out," Zach whispered, pointing to a small hole in my ceiling light fixture. Sure enough, there was another camera, perfectly positioned to capture my entire room. "This is sick. This is seriously messed up." My hands were shaking as I climbed down from the chair. We found a third one inside my alarm clock on the nightstand. 3 cameras, 3 different angles, all hidden in places I'd never think to look. "How long do you think they've been here?" I asked, feeling violated in a way I couldn't even describe. Zach examined the devices closely. "Based on the dust around them, a long time, man, years maybe." I called Emily right away, putting her on speaker. "Em, you won't believe what we found." After explaining everything, she was silent for a moment. "Matt, where do you think the footage is going? These are wireless, right?" "Yeah, they must be transmitting somewhere." "What about Richard's computer, the one he's always so protective of?" A light bulb went off. Richard had this fancy laptop from work that he was obsessive about. Nobody was allowed to touch it. He'd bring it home almost every weekend, claiming he had important work to do. "He's the head of IT at his company," I explained to Zach. "He's got some special access or whatever, always bragging about his secure server and how only he can access certain parts of the network." "That's definitely where the footage is going," Zach said. "We need to get into that computer." Emily jumped in. "He usually works in the living room on Sundays, right? Maybe you could create a distraction." We spent the next hour hatching a plan. Zach would cause a commotion outside, Richard would hopefully go check, and I'd quickly access his computer. "What if it's password protected?" Zach asked. "I've seen him type it in before. It's his birthday backwards plus an exclamation point. Classic boomer security." Before executing our plan, I decided to talk to my mom. Maybe, just maybe, she'd believe me. I found her in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Mom, I need to show you something." I led her to my room and showed her the cameras. Her face went pale. There must be some mistake. Richard wouldn't— Mom, come on. Who else would put cameras in my room? She shook her head. Maybe it's for security. He worries about break-ins. In my bedroom? Pointed at my bed? At my desk? In my alarm clock? I'm sure there's an explanation. Let me talk to him first. No, don't tell him we found these. I think he's storing the footage on his work computer. We need to check it first. Matthew, that's ridiculous. Richard is a respected professional. Why would he— Her voice trailed off as the implication sank in. Just give me a chance to prove it before you say anything to him. Please, Mom. She looked torn, not wanting to believe the worst about her husband. One day. You have one day to show me proof. Otherwise, we're sitting down as a family to discuss this. This is a serious accusation, Matthew. I nodded, knowing I only had one shot to expose Richard for what he really was. Tomorrow, I said. I'll have proof tomorrow. Sunday morning arrived and the plan was set. Zach was positioned outside with his car, ready to create our distraction. Emily waited at a coffee shop nearby, ready for my call. Remember, you need at least 10 minutes to search that computer, Zach texted. Right on schedule, Richard set up his laptop in the living room. Mom was grocery shopping. Perfect timing. I nodded to Zach through the window. Within seconds, the sound of screeching tires and a loud crash came from outside. Richard jumped up. What the hell was that? He rushed outside, and I immediately sat at his computer. The password worked exactly as I remembered. I started searching through his files, heart pounding in my chest. Come on, I muttered, frantically clicking through folders. Then I found it, a folder labeled Home Security buried deep within his work documents. Inside were hundreds of video files organized by date. The oldest ones went back 3 years to when I was 16. I quickly copied several files onto my flash drive, hands shaking as I heard Richard's voice getting closer. Some idiot backed into the neighbor's mailbox, he said, entering just as I slid away from his computer. That's crazy, I replied, trying to sound casual while slipping the flash drive into my pocket. I retreated to my room and immediately viewed the files. What I saw made me sick. Footage of me changing clothes, sleeping, with Emily, years of my private life recorded without my knowledge. I called Emily immediately. I found it. It's worse than we thought. He's been recording me since I was 16. That's illegal, Matt. That's recording a minor. You need to call the police. I'm scared they won't believe me. It's his word against mine. My uncle knows a detective. Let me call him. An hour later, I was sitting across from Detective Wilson at the local police station, flash drive in hand. These recordings go back 3 years, Detective Wilson said, looking through the evidence. That's a serious crime since you were underage. What happens now? We'll need to get a warrant to seize his computer. In the meantime, don't tip him off. Too late for that. When I got home, Richard was waiting for me, red-faced and fuming. You accessed my computer, he hissed, grabbing my arm as I tried to walk past him. Let go of me. Delete whatever you took, now, or your mother loses everything, her job, this house, everything. I yanked my arm away. Too late. The police already have it. That's when Mom walked in. Have what? What's going on? I pulled out my phone and played one of the videos. This is what your husband has been doing for the past 3 years, Mom. Recording me. In my bedroom. Mom's face crumpled as she watched. Richard, tell me this isn't real. It's not what it looks like, Richard stammered. It's for security. Save it. I cut him off. The police are getting a warrant right now. Richard's expression changed from anger to panic. You little— Think carefully about your next move, I warned him. But while you're thinking, you should know that tomorrow night, at your company party, everyone's going to learn exactly what kind of person you really are. Richard's annual company party couldn't have come at a better time. I arrived with my mom, who hadn't spoken more than 2 words to Richard since seeing the footage. Emily and Zach were already there, pretending to be serving staff for the evening. You sure about this? Mom whispered as we entered the hotel ballroom. 100%. Zach nodded subtly from across the room, confirming that Detective Wilson was in position. We spotted Richard chatting with a group of executives, including his boss, Karen. That's her, I said to Emily as she passed by with a tray. The woman in the blue dress. On it. Emily smoothly made her way to Karen, offering champagne and whispering something in her ear. I watched as Karen's expression shifted from polite interest to concern. She excused herself from her group and followed Emily to a side room where Zach had set up a laptop. Richard noticed the movement and frowned, watching Karen leave. His eyes darted around the room until they landed on me. His face paled. What did you do? He hissed, rushing over to me. Just making sure everyone knows who you really are. Richard grabbed my arm. I swear to God, if you let go of my son, Mom's voice was ice cold. Touch him again and I'll make a scene right here, right now. In the side room, Karen was viewing selected footage from Richard's computer. Her hand covered her mouth in shock. These were taken from his work computer? She asked Zach. Yes, ma'am. The company laptop you issued him. And these recordings are of his underage stepson, started when Matthew was 16. When Karen emerged from the room, her face was set in stone. She marched directly to Richard. We need to talk. Now. Karen, whatever you think you saw, save it. Using company property to store illegal recordings of a minor? You're done, Richard. The color drained from his face as Detective Wilson approached, badge visible. Richard Davis, I'm Detective Wilson. We have a warrant for your arrest and to seize all electronic devices in your possession. Richard lunged toward me. You little bastard, do you have any idea what you've done? Security guards restrained him as guests watched in shocked silence. You did this to yourself, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. 3 years of recording your underage stepson in his bedroom. What did you think would happen? As Detective Wilson led Richard away in handcuffs, Mom collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Matthew. I should have believed you from the beginning. It's not your fault, Mom. 2 weeks later, Richard was facing multiple felony charges. His company fired him immediately, and the story made local news. Mom filed for divorce the same day as his arrest. Emily, Zach, and I sat with Mom in our living room, our house again, not his. The restraining order came through, Mom said, holding up the official document. He can't come within 500 feet of either of us. You doing okay? Emily asked, squeezing my hand. Getting there. It helps knowing he can't hurt anyone else. The prosecution has a solid case, Zach added. Detective Wilson said they found footage going back even further on his encrypted drives. I still can't believe I didn't see it, Mom whispered. He fooled a lot of people, I assured her, but he can't fool anyone anymore. That night, for the first time in years, I slept peacefully in my room. No cameras, no fear, no Richard. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to someone else. It's freeing yourself from their control and watching justice take its course. What would you have done if you discovered hidden cameras in your room? Would you have confronted the person immediately or planned a more calculated exposure like Matthew did? Matthew chose to gather evidence and expose Richard publicly. Do you think this was the right approach, or should he have handled it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. This story highlights how predators can hide in plain sight, even within families. If you enjoyed Matthew's journey to justice, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about standing up against toxic people. New videos every day.